Hello and welcome to another edition of Truth is Making a Comeback, a production of LibertyNation.com. I'm Lisa K. Donner. On today's episode, the wit and wisdom of Donald J. Trump, hysterical and honest remarks from the president. A red flag revolution is underway regarding the Second Amendment. Are the Democrats about to commit electoral suicide? And Venezuela, a lesson in why we should never give up our guns. All this and more on this edition of Truth is Making a Comeback.
Truth is Making a Comeback. America's top stories with Lisa K. Donner.
President Trump let it rip at the 2019 annual Conservative Political Action Conference in an unforgettable speech. Perhaps vying with Hugh Jackman for the greatest showman, Mr. Trump held the attention of a capacity crowd for what turned out to be a 2-hour soliloquy. Two of the most winsome traits of Trump are his humor and ability to tell it like it is. He knows this and even referenced it by announcing to the capacity crowd that he was going off script. Then he quickly added that going off script was likely why he won the presidency. In an unplugged and at times raucous oration, the president doubled down on his remarkable talent to connect with an audience. He did this while exhibiting a good deal of self-awareness for a change. While the president is a billionaire somehow, he is able to come off as just one of the guys. And at CPAC, President Trump was clearly in his element, feeling and sounding at ease almost as if he'd had a glass of wine, which of course wasn't the case because he doesn't drink. Despite the free-spirited quality of his presentation, the president offered a common-sense approach to America's problems, as well as some truly amusing moments. During these 2 hours in which Trump genuinely seemed happy to be among his people, the president spoke of his leadership style and the vast political and philosophical gulf that exists between the Democrats and Republicans, and of course the problems facing America today.
With your help, we are reversing decades of blunders and betrayals. These are serious, serious betrayals to our nation and to everything we stand for. It's been done by the failed ruling class that enriched foreign countries at our expense. It wasn't America first. In many cases, it was America last. Those days are over, long over.
The president started out of the gate with a subject near and dear to his heart: trade talks with China.
I said, as an example, President Xi of China, I have great respect, we have a great relationship. I say, how is it possible that you got away with this for so long? And he said, because nobody ever asked us to change. It's true. When they charge 40% tariffs on our cars going into China, and we charge them nothing coming into our country, when they raise their tariff from 10% to 25% and then to 40%, and they said to me, we expected that somebody would call and say, you can't do that. Nobody called, so we just left it. And I don't blame them. We should have been doing the same thing to them, but we didn't.
It didn't take long for Mr. Trump to lay into the Democrats and the proposed Green New Deal, and he used sarcasm and wit to mock the program and bring down the House.
I think the new Green Deal, or whatever the hell they call it, the Green New Deal, right? Green New Deal. I encourage it. I think it's really something that they should promote. They should work hard on. It's something our country needs desperately. They have to go out and get it. But I'll take the other side of that argument only because I'm mandated to. But they should stay with that argument. Never change. Never change. No planes. No energy. When the wind stops blowing, that's the end of your electric. Let's hurry up. Darling? Darling, is the wind blowing today? I'd like to watch television, darling.
Not stopping there, the president called out the media and the Democrats' inability to understand his droll jesting.
If you tell a joke, if you're sarcastic, if you're having fun with the audience, if you're on live television with millions of people and 25,000 people in an arena, and if you say something like, Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please. Please get us the emails. Please. So everybody's having a good time. I'm laughing. We're all having fun. And then that fake CNN and others say, he asked Russia to go get the emails. Horrible. I mean, I saw it like 2 weeks ago. I'm watching, and they're talking about one of the points. He asked Russia for the emails. These people are sick, and I'm telling you.
In classic Trumpian fashion, he wiped the floor with Representative Adam Schiff of California, and a thinly veiled reference to former Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there, and all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bullshit, okay? With bullshit.
Another ability that Trump displayed was a remarkable talent to take a serious situation and add in some comedic elements. Such was the case with wanting to get American troops home and out of Syria.
I want the job done. I want to bring our people back home. It's not fair. And this is why I flew. So I met generals I didn't know. General 1, General 2, General 3. I mean, these generals, there's no person in Hollywood that could play the role. These guys are like perfect people. I said, what's your name? Sir, my name is Raisin. What the hell kind of a name? I said, Raisin, like the fruit? He goes, yes, sir, Raisin. What's your last name? Kane, Raisin Kane. I said, you gotta be kidding. It's true. Raisin Kane, I just made him a big star. Just like I did with Mattis when I said, we're gonna give you a new nickname, because Chaos is not a good nickname. So we changed his name. Called him Mad Dog, but it wasn't working too well. Mad Dog wasn't working too well, so what happened is I flew to Iraq. I wanted to meet the people on the site, because I learn more sometimes from soldiers, what's going on, than I do from generals. I do. I hate to say it. I tell that to the generals all the time. But I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to go there, because I meet, and I landed this airport, the most incredible thing. We must have spent $3 billion building it. It's one of the reasons I don't want to leave Iraq so fast. I said, how do we leave this thing? So I have Raisin Kane, 3 other generals, colonels, sergeants, and I said, bring the cameras, I'm gonna make a movie. This is the most incredible thing. And I said to the generals, listen, we gotta get out. I wanna know, why is it gonna take 2 years to knock off 2 or 3 or 4%, which is what we had left? It won't, sir. I said, tell me why it won't. It won't, sir. If we attack them in a different manner, we can do it much faster. Okay, General Raisin Kane, how fast can... Sir, we can have it totally finished in 1 week. I said, 1 week? I was told 2 years. 1 week. That's right, sir. We're only hitting them from a temporary base in Syria. But if you gave us permission, we could hit them from the back, from the side, from all over, from the base that you're right on right now, sir. They won't know what the hell hit them. They won't know what the hell hit them, sir. And I said, why didn't my other generals tell me that? Why didn't they tell me that? I said, did you tell them that? Not our place to say it, sir. They come in from Washington, sir. We have to take orders. You're the first one to ask us our opinion. True. It's true.
Despite the lighthearted nature of his remarks, Trump outlined the vast differences between conservatives and socialists.
The future belongs to those who believe in freedom. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. America will never be a socialist country. Ever.
And his support for free speech on college campuses seemed to be just what the political doctor ordered.
Today, I'm proud to announce that I will be very soon signing an executive order requiring colleges and universities to support free speech if they want federal research dollars.
The crowd went wild as President Trump reached the climax of his talk with an eloquent discourse on conservatism.
Every day, we're restoring common sense and the timeless values that unite us all. We believe in the Constitution and the rule of law. We believe in the First Amendment right, and we believe in religious liberty. And we believe strongly in the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms.
And that, dear conservatives, is perhaps Donald Trump at his best, demonstrating wit and wisdom with confidence, determination, and no fear. If one listens closely, those rumblings of revolt have begun again in the United States of America. So writes Liberty Nation's national correspondent Sarah Cowgill. She goes on to say, quote, proponents of the Second Amendment have been a target of an increasingly socialist government for decades. Politicians calling for a national firearms registry, strict purchasing and transferring regulations, along with the banning of certain types of ammunition, have law-abiding citizens on edge. These regulations are called red flag rules, and pro-Second Amendment folks are fed up and prepared to do political battle. Already, several states have organized modern-day militias and are creating something known as Second Amendment sanctuary counties. Joining me now from the Midwest, where people still say what they mean and mean what they say, is Sarah Cowgill.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Hey, Sarah, I'm fine. So I'm wondering, what do you mean by a revolution? Is that a bit of an exaggeration? What's really going on?
It's not an exaggeration. Several states have basically, fired the first shot. New Mexico is one of them. They have adopted, I think they have 2 counties that are holdouts. All the other counties have adopted resolutions to be sanctuary, 2A sanctuary counties, and several cities in New Mexico have done the same thing. And now that they've gotten a taste of what it's like to have some attention on their issues and their concerns with their state, people are paying attention. They've been on the national news recently. Other states are calling, asking, hey, how do you do it? How can we do the same in our state? So it's really quite a revolution. We'll see if it lasts, but it's really right now, I think 2020, people ought to be scared in New Mexico. In other states like Illinois, about a third of their counties are now 2A sanctuary counties. And it sends a clear message. It sends a clear message to the people in Springfield for Illinois or in Santa Fe in New Mexico that people are fed up and they're not going to take it. There no more of this rubber stamp it through stupid democratic agendas, according to, the patriots that defend their right to bear arms.
You mean, actually, you mentioned the state of Washington, which I felt was pretty interesting because they're fairly, shall we say, progressive.
Yes, the big-time liberals there. Well, one small city north near the Canadian border declared the gun laws that they just passed, sweeping gun legislation in their state. They declared a Second Amendment sanctuary city. And the sheriff and the mayor have said, our citizens are armed. They are going to continue to be armed. We're not going to force them to do a registry. We don't anything that's unconstitutional. We live in a low crime right, and we're going to keep it that way. And they drew a line in the sand with the liberals in their state capital. So it's coming around. This isn't a red state thing. This is a blue state turning red.
So now when you get right down to it, there are, well, actually, these things are symbolic gestures and don't really pack a legal punch. So what's the point?
The point is organizing. The point is anger. The point is taking their state back. They know what's going on. They rose up a little bit to vote in 2016. And although locally, and that seems to be a problem in this country, is that when you're so focused nationally, you don't really pay attention to what's going on in your own state. And they were just overwhelmed by a liberal agenda. They're a supermajority in some of these states now, and they've had enough. But they've seen that it works. And so they are getting organized. They're forming PACs. They're raising money. They're drafting candidates for 2020. They are on it. And if this isn't a revolution, I don't know what is.
Okay, so you also mentioned that militias are being formed.
There are a few. There's the United States Patriots are down on the border in New Mexico right now, in Santa Teresa and some other places, and they're assisting Border Patrol in pushing back people coming through. They want the troops on the border in that state. They certainly do. And they have sent people there to help deter people from crossing the border. They're not going to, kidnap and detain them or anything, but they are going to keep them on their side.
Sarah, do you see this an active, growing trend in the Second Amendment movement?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, it was a sprinkling here and there in red states with Democratic-controlled municipalities. But now you're looking at people just rising up. They're going to overwhelm. They will overwhelm. It's going to take a little bit of time, but they will overwhelm.
Sarah Cowgill, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us here on Truth TV. Looking forward to seeing you in the swamp for the Liberty Nation retreat.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Bye.
See ya.
Are the Democrats preparing to commit electoral suicide in the upcoming presidential election? That's the question that Washington political columnist Tim Donner is asking in what turned out to be a wildly popular article for LibertyNation.com this week. Tim joins us now from his perch on the west coast of Florida. Hi, Tim, and welcome to Truth TV. Okay, let's get right down to it. You write the Democrats are misinterpreting their mandate and dramatically overestimating the popularity of their agenda. What do you mean?
Well, they picked up a 40-seat majority in the House in the 2018 midterms, and they've interpreted that as meaning that the people writ large in this country, the general electorate, favors socialist policies, when in fact what the Democrats had to do to win the 2018 midterms was to tamp down the rebellion, de-emphasize things like gun control and abortion in the lead up to that election in order that they could win. So they're misinterpreting their mandate apparently, because we've had 4 months of a socialist bent in the Democratic Party, and socialism, no matter what Bernie Sanders was able to achieve in 2016, socialism is still not something that one can envision the American people choosing in the 2020 presidential election.
Tim, do you really think Richard Cohen speaks for a large portion of those who identify as Democrats?
Well, I think that he does, because while the resistance wing of the party, the far left of the Democratic Party, gets most of the attention, led by the Pied Piper Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who everybody seems to be following, and nobody seems to be disciplining at all. There's no question that what they're ignoring is the millions of Democrats across the country who I'd call rank and file, old-time liberal Democrats who, may support an active government, but they still believe in the American dream, and they still believe in free markets and free people. And I think they're frightened to death by things like the Green New Deal and reparations for the descendants of slaves and Medicare for all and far higher tax rates. These things are scary to the general electorate. And what Richard Cohen was pointing out in the Washington Post is that, these people are being ignored again by the Democrats. You'd think they would have learned their lesson in 2016 when Donald Trump plucked off more than enough in the heartland to win the election decisively.
Okay, you quote Cohen as saying the party's determined to give Donald Trump a fair shot at re-election by sabotaging itself. In fact, it's veering so far to the left that it could lose an election in the 1950s Bulgaria. That's pretty funny, but is it true?
Well, look at the policies that the top tier of the Democratic Party, we're not talking outliers, we're not talking some obscure congressman from Maryland, we're talking Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders and Cory Booker and the like. The top tier of candidates all support the Green New Deal, which involves a takeover of the entire economy by the federal government. They all support reparations for the descendants of slaves. How that would be enacted, I have no idea. They are all supporting punitive tax rates, raising taxes. It just doesn't seem like the socialists who are getting all the play and have risen to the top of the cream in the Democratic Party running for president are at all in touch with traditional liberal Democrats. There's a growing divide there.
So, if you had to compare the upcoming presidential election cycle to one in recent memory, which one would you choose and why?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Lisa, because there was an election a full 47 years ago in 1972. The similarities between that election and 2020 are striking. You had a reviled president, Richard Nixon, who was despised by the left and the media. You had a growing resistance with a tinge of real anti-Americanism growing on the left, strong enough that it nominated a candidate, George McGovern. And the end result, Nixon, not the most popular guy in the land, much like Trump, won 49 out of 50 states and won the popular vote by 62 to 38. So yes, there is an election. As it says in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. And as uniquely bitter and divided as the political environment is now, it was very similar in 1972. On the other hand, I will say this. While the Democrats, I think, would have to defy history in order to deny Donald Trump a second term, it was Trump himself who very much denied history in 2016. So I don't think people should be lining up for tickets to the second inauguration of Donald Trump quite yet.
But if Trump does pull a Nixon and actually wins the popular vote as Nixon did in '72, then all bets are off, as the Democrats are trying to get the Electoral College basically rendered non-existent.
Well, you can understand why, Lisa, because twice in this century, they have lost elections where they won the popular vote and lost in the Electoral College. It happened in 2000 when Al Gore won more votes but lost to George W. Bush, and it happened again in 2016. So in the leftists' usual one-step thinking, they're like, well, we lost because of the Electoral College, so let's just get rid of the Electoral College. That'll solve everything. They hate the fact that states like Wyoming and Kansas and Idaho and the other states in flyover country have any voice at all in who gets elected president.
Well, thanks very much. That's my better half of 33 years, and I must say an excellent political analyst. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Lisa.
And now for this week's parting shot. As all hell breaks loose in the socialist paradise of Venezuela, every day brings new hope that the malevolent reign of Nicolas Maduro will be brought to its knees and put in the trash heap of history. But as Americans well know, the struggle for freedom often comes with much bloodshed. In just a few short decades, Maduro and his mentor, Hugo Chavez, have successfully taken a wealthy, prosperous nation and reduced it to nothing more than an apparition of its former self. Originally nicknamed Little Venice by explorer Amerigo Vespucci, Venezuela sits on one of the world's largest oil reserves. It was also well known for exporting coffee and cocoa. But the lofty dreams of socialism have resulted in staggering inflation and a populist social welfare system that brought the country down to an almost unimaginable economic poverty level. But in June of 2012, the socialists of Venezuela made their shrewdest move of all. They banned private gun ownership. At the time, the BBC reported that the Venezuelan gun ban was, quote, an attempt by the government to improve security and cut crime ahead of the elections, unquote. So the government ran a classic gun amnesty program and people obliged. What was the upshot of this effort to rid Venezuela of such crime by taking away all the guns? Why, the homicide rate increased, of course. According to the Crime Prevention Research Center, the CPAC, when Hugo Chavez took power in 1999, the homicide rate was about 25 people per 100,000. As of 2017, Caracas, Venezuela reported 111 homicides per 100,000 people. That was second only to the murder capital of the world, Los Cabos, Mexico. Fast forward to where the people of Venezuela are today. The loss of private gun ownership has propelled them back to the Stone Age, literally. If you take a moment to watch the videos of armed police in riot gear, you will notice that the Venezuelan people have resorted to throwing rocks at their oppressors. And now, as they sit on the precipice of a country literally coming apart at the seams, where looting and rioting are the likely outcomes as soon as the government finally falls, the people will have nothing in which to defend themselves. In the mess that socialists have made of Venezuela, sticks and stones are not going to cut it. Think about this the next time some politician or well-meaning lefty tells you they want to get rid of guns to, quote, improve security and cut crime. And then tell them about Venezuela. And that's my parting shot. And that's it for this edition of Truth is Making a Comeback. Thanks so much for joining us. And remember, Truth is Making a Comeback on LibertyNation.com because facts matter. I'm Lisa K. Donner. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, and stop by our website, LibertyNation.com. Have a great week.
Truth is making a comeback. Visit us at LibertyNation.com.